lesson is coming from Romans, the 5th chapter, beginning at the 1st verse and working our way to the 11th verse. That's where we're going to be. We want to find ourselves in the Word of God this morning, understanding the process by which we're in right now. Because how many of you understand that his dying on the cross was not in vain? It was not something he did because he woke up one morning and he just decided he wants to do something like this. It was adamant that he do it, and it was part of God's process to get man back in connection with him. Remember, I talked about it just a minute ago, how God so concerned for us that he put so much energy into making sure we understand who he is in our life. Amen. Have anybody that you know paid so much attention or put so much effort in you knowing who they are to you? Have you met does your mother, even your mother relationship, does she even put that much effort to let you know that she's your mother, that she birthed you? A lot of times we will reference it, I brought you into this world, I raised you, I took care of you, I fed you, so you mine. But God goes to the extent that he causes someone to give their life and shed their blood, right, so that his relationship with us could be reunited. Amen. Let's begin reading, and we're going to read the entire verse. So if you don't mind standing for the reading just this once, and then you'll be through standing on my behalf. That's Romans chapter 5, verses 1 through 11. And we want to give a thought today, and our thought is, he, being Jesus, did that thing. He did that thing. We know that what if this day represent the fact that he died, but we got to understand the magnitude by which he went through to make sure that we understood how much God really loved us. It wasn't even his act of love toward us. It was his act of love toward his father, that his father had an act of love toward us that put into motion him going and doing what he never knew was possible, was dying and getting up again. But he believed God could do just that. Let's read.
Therefore, being justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ, by whom also we have access by faith into this grace, wherein we stand and rejoice in hope of the glory of God. Mm-hmm. And not only so, but we glory in tribulations also, knowing that tribulation worketh patience, and patience experience, and experience hope, and hope maketh not ashamed, because the love of God is shed abroad in our hearts by the Holy Ghost, which is given unto us. For when we were yet without strength, in due time Christ died for the ungodly. For scarcely for a righteous man will one die, yet peradventure for a good man some would even dare to die. But God commendeth his love toward us, in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Much more then, being now justified by his blood, we shall be saved from wrath through him. For if, when we were enemies, we were reconciled to God by the death of his Son, much more, being reconciled, we shall be saved by his life. Mm-hmm. And not only so, but we also joy in God through our Lord Jesus Christ, by whom we have now received the atonement.
Amen. Let's thank God, amen, for the reading of his word. I want you to understand that this process was not done simply because someone had a off-the-wall idea to try something new. But God had planned this out so carefully and cautiously to make sure that when we as believers receive this gift, that this gift will be presented to you in the greatest magnitude that it could be presented in. Meaning that it would be something you will never, ever forget. commentaries differ whether chapter 5 of Romans belongs thematically in this portion of the book. They felt like the major sections of Romans that this may not should have been here because this talks about him dying and him giving us an opportunity to do better.
Yes.
The commentaries go on to feel that this particular chapter should have been more with Christian life, dealing with Christians being able to say that you are a Christian and you have the right to be a Christian.
Yes.
Paul used the words us and we a lot in this explanation, and he explains the benefits that those of us had for our justification for salvation. I don't hope I don't get too deep, and I hope I'm making this plain and simple, because some messages when you preach, it's hard to preach elementary because there's not an elementary message going on in the process. Now, in the background of all of this, in the backdrop of all of this, we see that the connection, a unique connection is being made. It is with our justification and our reconciliation. Reconciliation. Yes. There you go. I'm getting it. It's a long word, but I thank God that I was able to get it. Our justification gives us the clarification that we got a right to say who we are. But reconciliation, amen, lets us know that we got a right to speak toward our relationship with God as being reunited. You know, justification talks to salvation. Reconciliation talks to relationship, the ability to communicate. When you sever a relationship, you take away the ability to reconciliate with one another or to communicate with one another, reconciling anything. But see, when a man goes through a divorce, it's different than a man saying, I'm going to stay at the hotel for a little bit so that we can have some space, but I'll come back. Because there's still reconciliation, a possibility there. But when he severs that, he's distancing himself. When he said, I'm divorcing, meaning that I want nothing else to do with you. Mm-hmm. If I could, I didn't even want to deal with you and the kids no more. Same with the woman. She could say them same things. But the unique thing about this chapter is it takes our reconciliation and our justification and it joins forces that you're justified for salvation by Jesus dying on the cross. Uh-oh. Oh, this is an Easter message, whether you can understand it, and I want it to be simple, but I couldn't find no simple way to talk about Jesus dying on the cross. I couldn't talk about a simple way, elementary way that it just feel good. You know, even when we watch the videos and we see the stuff on the screens and we watch those things transact and we watch those things go into effect and we see that acting out, that how he was beaten and how he was persecuted and how he was treated so bad, how he was mistreated and misunderstood and misjudged. But why? Not for his purpose, but for our purpose. He was talked about. You know, isn't it weird that he came to do nothing but good, but he was looked at as being somebody that did nothing but bad? Mm-hmm. So much so that people said, you know, I don't even believe in Christianity. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in the process. I don't believe in all of that nonsense that a man could die and I'd be forgiven for my sin. They don't believe none of that. But look at the facts of the matter. He went through it so that we may have a process by which we can have reconciliation, to be justified, to live and to testify and to do of his good work. Yes. We take it so for granted these days that we go and do things not looking at what is the cost of it. You know, a lot of us have cars. A lot of us in here, everybody in here pretty much got cars, and everybody in here are blessed with keys. My daddy used to tell me all the time, said, son, a man with no keys has no value. that if you got keys, you got value in your life. And he told me at an early age, he said, learn how to get you some keys. You know, he would say that to encourage me to do something about my process rather than let my process be just running to and fro and not be able to have skillfully directed myself on where I'm going. So often people don't care about their salvation, their life. They don't look at their life, what's to come afterward. They only look at this. There was one part of the video that I loved the most is when they was running, when the woman came to the disciples and told the disciples, said, he's a living, he's alive, and he's not there no more. And the disciples, even though Jesus told them he was going to die on the cross, even though he told them that he was going to be crucified, but in 3 days he was going to get up, they did not believe it because they went about their own business, doing their own thing, until the woman came, and they didn't really believe it either because they went not to see if he was up, but they went to prepare his body to stay there even longer. See, what I'm here to tell you is the enemy would prepare that you stay there longer, but God said no longer shall you stay in the realm of death. I'll give you life.
That's right.
And he said, I'm giving you life because I justified you to be alive. You know, I love the thing of childbirth. You know, childbirth is somebody giving somebody the opportunity to live. It's not always a good thing to be born into this place. Sometimes it is a worse situation to be born into life than it is to be taken out of life.
That's right.
You know, because life is getting so wicked right now. We live in a time where men of color can be shot down and nobody even thinks second about it and think that it's just okay. But I'm glad that there's people in our race that said, I will not sit here silently and allow you to take what's so preciously given to me by God just because you feel that you got an unction to use your gun. I thank God that God is blessing, but I'm going to stay on focus. I'm going to stay on course because I can get off course so easily with that tough subject, but I refuse to get off subject because what I'm here to tell you that even if you died naturally in this world, justification gives you the right that you got now reconciliation. You've been reconciled with God. Now you can have eternal life. And on eternal life, ain't nobody going to take that away from you.
Nobody.
You got that when you sold it up. When you say, Lord, forgive me of my sins. I want to go a little further. Justification is just one of the many ways of speaking about salvation in its division. Meaning that justification is just one factor to say, somebody may say, how do you know you saved? You say, I'm justified. He said, how are you justified? Because Christ died on the cross that I might say freely that I'm born again. See, his justification is that the debt that I do owe, I don't owe that debt no more. Why don't I owe that debt? Because he paid the ultimate price for me to be able to stand firm on my justification and say, I declare I'm a free man right now.
Right.
Oh, it's so deeper to the fact that we as believers must understand that justification came by the fact that Jesus died. Him dying also reconciled us with God. God had a plan. God's ultimate plan was I got to get back a relationship with my creation.
Yes.
Oh, sometimes, you know, me as a father, I got 4 kids. 4 children. I don't got kids no more. They're grown. And they got their own finances and their own money. And you know, sometimes I help out, you know, putting a roof over their head. Sometimes I help out with you know, little money here and there, but not a whole lot, you know. I can say I'm a proud father that my kids have learned the importance of taking care of themselves, and they do it well, that I don't have to always keep on pitching in to make sure that they got their ends meet, you know. They don't call me up and say, Daddy, you know, can I borrow a $200 or $400? Or, you know, Daddy, can you help me out? My ice box is empty and I need food, you know. A lot of times when we go out to eat, you know, we looking around in the expectation that somebody at the table going to pick up the bill for everybody because it's going to be a free bill because we are all so blessed that it's a possibility that somebody might, be so generous with their blessings that they're going to say, I'm going to give you a free meal today, so the tab is on me. We look for that even when we go out to enjoy, festivities with each other. I thank God that my family is blessed like that. But what I understand is that when I look at our process, that Jesus made sure that we had the justification of the right to stand blessed.
That's right.
You ain't blessed just because. You're blessed because Jesus already made sure you were blessed. He goes on, Paul shows us how justification involves reconciliation. See, it was one thing for a man to divorce his wife. Remember I told you, or he separates himself from his wife. If he separates himself from his wife, he can always go have justification to go back home and go back into the house and ask for forgiveness, or she asks for forgiveness, and they can reconcile. That's an easy way to reconcile because you never severed the relationship. But when you sever the relationship, meaning you completely disconnected it from each other, that there's nothing holding it together. When God decided that I need something to hold us back together, we have been severed, and I want us to be put back together. But when I put us back together, I want it to mend us that it don't even recognize that it ever was severed before.
That's right.
Oh man, that got deep for me right there. How many of you had a relationship that was severed, and when you tried to mend that relationship, it didn't fit no more? It just don't go together no more. It just don't have the same feel no more. I never experienced this. I never walked up to my wife and said, she asked me, do you love me? And then I say, it ain't like, I don't love you like I used to love you. I don't feel the same love as I used to when I first met you. It's done changed. There's something different about our relationship, But what I say to her is when she asked me, she said, do you love me? I said, sure enough, I love you. Matter of fact, I love you more than I did when I first got you. I start to let her be assured that I understand that you may feel that there's a gap or severance in between us, but I'm here to clarify that there's nothing wrong in our relationship, baby. I love you even more today, even with I knowing all your your defects and the things that get on my nerve, your quirky ways. I still love you even more now because I didn't know those quirky ways, but now that I do, I love you the more. Other day we was going in and I'm going on. We was walking in the grocery store yesterday, and we was going to get our dinner together for Easter dinner, And while we was going to the grocery store, we got out the car, and we was walking in, and she grabbed me by my pinky finger, and I said, oh, she grabbed my pinky finger, and then she grabbed my index finger, and then she started holding my whole hand, and we walking in the store holding hands, and I said, look at here, I'm 53 years old, and I got a 50-year-old woman, 1-year-old woman holding my hand, and I'm happy, and there's young women passing by, and while we was in the store getting our groceries and we was going to the aisle, a young lady come in my path, and as she came in my path, she had cut up her jeans so much so that all her buttocks and things was out, and she cut up every piece, and she stopped and she looked at me and turned and stood there. And I looked at my wife. I said, baby, look at this nonsense right here. And my wife, she started laughing, and we laughed and everything, and the young lady, after she realized I had a wife, then she started walking on. And I said, at least she should have put some lotion on her buttocks because they was all ashy looking. And I said, if you're going to entice me, Satan, you might as well entice, because I got too much to be severance from. I'm not allowing you to cut the connection that my relationship with God is. I want you to understand that temptation is only got value if you give it value. What I'm here to tell you is when God put our relationship and reconciled us, he took the value out of temptation because it was the greatest thing that could ever be given to us. It's being reconciled with him. Oh, I'm going on. Justification speaks to our sound legal status. You ever get stopped by the police, and when he stopped you, he's going to ask for your license and your registration. and you are happy when you got it in real possession. You stand there firm. See, justification, it speaks to our sound legal status before God while we've been reconciled. What I'm here to tell you is that when the police pull you over and they say, can I see your license and registration, you gladly hand it over with pride. Because you know he can't give me a ticket for no insurance. He can't give me a ticket for not having my driver license. He can't take me to jail for not having my driver license. He can't suspend my license for not having insurance. He cannot. See, a lot of variables goes into effect that now you got justification that if he don't have nothing other than the fact that you speeded, the only ticket he can give you for is the fact that you may have broke the law. And you can argue the point whether or not he got his information correctly. Justification means that you got a legal right to stand firm and say, I'm saved and I am a child of God. Amen. Oh man, you know, when he been beaten and the nails in his hands and feet, you know, that's why I don't take it for granted. I refuse to backslide. I refuse to give up my salvation. I refuse to walk back into my sin and tell God that my sin is much more precious and valuable than you dying on the cross, than you suffering in what you went through, that I may be blessed. That your blessing plan ain't good enough for me. Right. You know, when I got my car the other day and the lady said, you know, we got some extras that we can add on to your car, but it's up to you if you want to pay for it. And they started saying, you know, even though you may have full coverage, it's not going to cover the car in full if you get in a wreck, because they're not going to pay the no more than the book value for the car. See, what I'm understanding is, in the fact that I looked at that situation, is that when Jesus died for me, even though I stand before God justified to be accused of what I did because I did it, but because he died, he gave me justification that beyond my ability to be able to say I didn't do it. He said that he's forgiven of what he's done. And now I can stand before God blameless with my hand raised and say I didn't do nothing to deserve to be thrown into the lake of fire. But if you can look at my reconciliation with you, that my papers justify that I got to come in. You gotta go. You gotta let me in. Preach. Oh man, see, that's how I've been saved since I was 10, and I never looked back. It's because I understood this at the beginning of my salvation. Is that I understood that the importance of having God in my life. I understood the importance of the papers that I had. It's one thing to have a brief. Oh, this is revelation. This is Rhema. You know, I had a dog one time, and I named that dog Benny. And Benny was one of the best dogs I ever had. And when I found Benny, I didn't find him myself. My daughter, at whom I was raising, my baby girl, next to the baby girl, come running to the house on her bicycle that she had, and she said, Daddy, there's a dog chasing me, and she was crying, and she was running in the house scared, and the dog was he was running, but he wasn't really chasing her, he was really playing along with her. He was excited. He said, he looked at her and said, look at this person looked like a good owner, and he started playing with her, even though he was a lost stray. And I said, man, I got a stray on my hand. Yep. My daughter run home, but the dog understood that. Look at here, I chased your daughter home, true enough, but my baby girl walked out to see what the commotion was about. And when she walked out, she seen this old raggedy dog, mangy looking hair all over him, matted and everything, and he was looking at her, and he was sitting there, and he wasn't doing nothing but being patient. And she said, oh, I like him. Daddy, can we keep him? See, she looked beyond all that mange she had, all that raggedy hair and everything. And I said, girl, you crazy. That dog can have rabies and everything. She said, Daddy, I want to keep him. And then the one that he chased it home that was scared of him turned and looked and said, he don't look too bad. He kind of nice. They began to justify the reason that he needs to stay. Even though he was messed up when he got there, the fact of the matter, his justification came from them. And then my wife said, well, we could go and take him to the vet. And I said, oh, I done lost. I got 3 women against me. 3 women against me. They done fell in love. It didn't take but a few minutes. See, what the dog understood is I'm going to take this opportunity and I'm going to follow behind this bicycle. And she thought he was chasing her. But he was not chasing her. He was looking for a home. He said, just maybe they're going to take me in. Just maybe they'll see beyond all that I've been through. Oh, boy. See, God says, I'm going to look beyond what you've been through that you may be justified to have a relationship reconciled back with me.
Preaching, Pastor.
And they say the old dog, when I'm not comparing Jesus and a dog together, but I'm comparing the fact that the dog represents us in the process, you know, and that the dog understood that if I find new owners, they can take me in. And we took the dog in, and I told the dog, you can't come in the house.
Not yet.
Not yet. You're not ready to come in the house. And I left him in the garage. And I put some water out there. And we put whatever we had, because we didn't have no dog food at the time. And we put it out there for the dog to enjoy it. And the dog enjoyed it. He never barked. He never did nothing. That got my attention. I said, now this dog been in this garage all day and he ain't even scratched at the door. He ain't did nothing. He just happy to be in this garage with the light on and everything. And I said, So I started going around to the neighbors and I started asking the neighbors, is this your dog? And the neighbors said, no, he was running around the neighborhood and my kids, I wouldn't let him in my house. And the dog, what I understood then is that the dog been trying neighbor after neighbor after neighbor in hopes to find a home that was going to take him in. See, oh God, thank you Almighty. We have taken our relationship trying to satisfy our flesh, and we have got ourselves in situation after situation, and they have been proven to be wrong. But when the dog find my home, the dog then said, at least I'm in the garage. That's enough. He was happy being in the garage.
Yes, he was.
The kids look out in the garage and look at him, but he still wouldn't come in. And the unique thing is I woke up that Monday and I said, you know what? I'm going to take him to the vet. Now that I know ain't nobody got him, and if he got a chip in him, they going to recognize who he belonged to. And I took him to the vet. And when the vet lady seen him, she said, ooh, he's a mangy little thing, ain't he? I said, yeah, I want to make sure that he ain't got no rabies and he don't belong to somebody and all of this. I want to make sure that I can really have him. And I left the dog there, and we went to work, and they went to school and everything. And we come home to get the dog. And when the lady called me, she said, Mr. Gordon. When I said, yes, she said, I know this, you said this really, you couldn't find the owners. And I said, no, I couldn't. And she said, we couldn't either because the dog don't have a chip. So he just lost. And I said, She said, but I'm looking at him, and he's such a manable dog. And he look like he's been trained, and it look like he sits here. He ain't like all the other dogs. He ain't barking and acting up or none of that. She said, but if it's okay with you, can I cut him and groom him up and bathe him for you? And I said, it ain't gonna hurt, I guess. And she said, I'll give you our special. And it was like $50 or $60. And she said, I'll give you the special. And I said, okay. And she said, well, can I give him a little teddy bear face? I said, lady, you do whatever gonna make the dog. I said, I don't understand teddy bear faces. I don't know what all that is and all of that. And I don't even know the breed of the dog. And she said, by the time you get here, I'll have some information. And they took the dog in the back and they began to do what they needed to do. And the lady called me back. And she said, Mr. Gordon. I said, yeah. She said, you got a different breed of dog than you think. This is not a mutt. And I said, oh, it's not. Said, this dog really got papers, but we don't know who the owners is, so we don't know where the papers are on the dog. But this dog is a rare breed. And I began to, she said, it's a Westie. And it was a Westie mixed with a little lasso. She said the reason his hair drapes down under his belly is because of the lasso that's mixed in him. And his tail got the little curl because of it. She said, but I know that this dog either must have been in a show or something. We set the dog on the table to give him a haircut. And when we set him on the table, you know, we was getting ready to put the collar on the dog to hold him down because we didn't think he was going to take the cut so easy. But as soon as the clippers came on, she said, as soon as they did, the dog stood on 4 legs. And his tail went in the air, and he looked straight ahead, and he didn't move, and the groomer was able to groom him. She said, we never had a rare breed in here like this one. See, what I'm here to tell you is sometimes when God see you in your mess, he understands what breed you really are. And he wants to put you to work. And he said, I know what I got. They don't understand what they got. Come on now. But see, what Benny understood when we hadn't named him yet, we hadn't done none of that yet. But what Benny understood is that I done find a house that's gonna make me look like what I'm supposed to look like. That now I got some owners that's gonna take care of me. And lo and behold, when I got there to get him, and I walked in, and I wasn't expecting to see what I was finna see. When I walked in, the lady, she said, oh, you finna be surprised, Mr. Gordon. She said, you just don't know what you got. And they come out with him not on the collar. They didn't have a leech on him because he didn't need a leech. They just had his little thing on him, you know, where he looked like, he made him look all pretty. And he was walking, and to let you know, the dog knew who I was. The dog went to me. He come running. And he come up, and I said, man, look at you. I said, you so nice looking. Where you come from? This the same dog that chased my daughter home. And when I took the dog in, and I took him out and the kids seen him, everybody got so excited. The dog got so excited, he didn't even want you to mess up his hair. See, what I want you to understand, that sometimes you got to be like that. You got to tell the devil, I would get into that, but it's going to mess up my hair. I would get into this situation, but it's going to mess up my coat because my coat been clean. My coat been dipped. My coat. See, what he had been done, he had been dipped, flea dipped, that he didn't have fleas no more. Then I could touch him. The kids could touch him. Oh, he was a beautiful dog. We didn't never have to put him, lock him up in a cage. But none of that. See, when you've been justified and free, you're justified. I'm at the end. Don't think I'm not. I'm at the end. It lets us know that we're reconciled, describes our repaired relationship to God in more personal terms. I mean, it's a personal thing that this reconciliation doesn't happen. That's why I preach so hard to y'all. Don't let the devil take what's most precious to you. Don't let him misuse what God has given you. Don't let him make you rub it in the ground and treat it any kind of way. Treat it right. Not that I'm a man of pride. I'm a man that understands that I have some type of pride about myself. And when we're not stuck on stuff, me and my wife, we're not stuck on stuff. We're not stuck on it that we can't give it up or that if God moves us to something else, he's going to move us to something else and we're going to be crying over that stuff. You know, that nobody can't ride in the car. Nobody can't do this. And the only reason I'm talking about the car because it's the latest blessing I got just a few days ago, rather. And I'm thanking God for it, you know. But all the time, my wife said to me, she said, baby, are we going to eat in the car when we riding along? You know, because sometimes we have hectic lives because we pastor and we pastor in church, and sometimes we got to do things that cause us to be tied up with our time, and we got to eat on the go and everything. And I looked at her and I was going to say no and everything, and I said, and I thought about it. I said, no, we're not going to eat in this one, at least for right now. Not that I'm too proud to eat in it, or I think it's too much to eat in it. What I mean is that I want to show God that I don't want to treat it just like it's any kind of car. Mm-hmm. I want to treat it with respect because he went through a lot to make sure I could get it. Mm-hmm. He sacrificed so that I may have. And I don't want to take it for granted. And me and the wife, we sat in it. We enjoyed it. We rode around for a little bit. We enjoyed it and everything. And we looked at all the defects that he may have had or whatever, and we said we okay with those defects. What I'm trying to tell you is sometimes God will take you in.
Yes, he will.
He know you still got problems.
Yes, he will.
He know you still got struggles. He know you ain't perfect.
Yes.
He know you still got issues that you got to resolve, that you're looking at to fix. He knows that.
Thank you, Jesus.
My daddy said he had a issue when he gave his life to God that he struggled with for I think he said for about a month before he could get rid of it.
6 months.
3 or 6 months before he could get rid of it. And he struggled with that thing, but he yet kept claiming his salvation. God understands that you're going to struggle with some things. He understands you're going to have some issues. But what he do understand is, baby, you can't have them forever.
Nope.
Because as your new owner, I'm not going to let you be. See, Benny sat out there in that garage for a little while in that mangy hair, in that dirty look, in that dinginess, and all of that. But when I got him and he was mine, and I told him to go ahead and they cleaned him up, he got cleaned up. He didn't go back to being mangy no more. That wasn't an option for him no more. I'm not going back there. He understood that now I got a home. Not only, I don't know where he came from, but he said I got a home with some kids that really love me. He loved them kids so much so that when I went to chastise them, he tried to bite at me. And I said, look at him now. You got to understand who's running this camp. This mine. And when I'm chastising, you stand off to the side. It may hurt you as much as it hurt me, but you're going to endure them enduring the pain. See, what you got to understand is Jesus stands by and he know God got to chastise you sometimes. He know God's got to take you through some things, but he got to stand there and watch it and knowing that this is my children. This is the one I died for. Why they got to suffer like this? Because God said they won't listen. They won't do what I'm asking them to do. So they got to get chastised. Mm-hmm. The chastisement of God is meaning that the relationship has been reconciled. Because if God cares for you, he chastens you. If God chastens you, he loves you. If God loves you, he going to look after you. If God cares for you, he going to do something to better you. He's not going to leave you there. To better, meaning that sometimes you got to take your children to the dentist, even if they cry.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to take them to the doctor to get a shot, even though they're going to cry when they get the shot. Sometimes you got to take them to get new shoes when they want to wear shoes that they say these are my favorite. And you got to take them out of their favorites that got holes in them and put them in shoes that don't got holes in them. You got to force them sometimes into better to let them understand that better don't always mean that it's going to be easy, but better means it's going to get much better for you. Amen. I'm getting ready to close. But God, I want to look at that part. We see where we were at war with God when we was severed from him. It's a bad thing to be at war from God. And we was losing the battle pretty bad. We wasn't winning it. I don't care how you looked at it, we wasn't winning it. We wasn't moving upward. We were staying down in the mud. And God said, I need to do something about this. I need to fix this process. I need to let them understand that being concerned for my business is meaning you're looking out for your own welfare. Mm-hmm. It's one thing to be fighting an enemy and you sometime winning the battles. It's another thing to be fighting the enemy and you losing every single battle and you're about to lose the war. What we don't understand is when you fight against God, you're not winning any of your battles. At least with God, you may lose some of them, but you ain't finna lose the war. That's right. Because God is going to ensure that you're going to be taken care of. Mm-hmm. We see here that relationship, alienated, disconnected from God, means that you got no hope. But justification gave you hope through reconciling you to have a relationship with God. Now you have the ultimate hope. Now you have the but God in your situation. See, the enemy says that, yeah, they were a prostitute, but God said, but look at here, I've already paid that cost. Oh, y'all ain't getting it.
Come on. Yes, we are.
When you stand before a judge guilty of what you done, guilty of what you accused of, rather, but to stand before a judge accused of what you're guilty of is one thing. You're going to pay the price and you got nothing to fight for you. But to stand before a judge and you've been accused of something that you done, but you got a lawyer big enough to get you off.
Come on now.
Oh, y'all don't understand. I don't know if O.J. Simpson killed Nicole Simpson, whatever her name was. I don't know if he killed her or not. The evidence sometimes show he did, sometimes it showed that he didn't. You know, the question is, that's a mystery, because OJ is taking it to his grave with him, and the people that was around is nobody to identify whether it really happened. You can speculate all day whether it happened or not. But what I'm here to tell you, he had a lawyer strong enough that says if the glove don't fit, you must acquit. Oh, it became famous that, you know, that people started to say, when OJ put the glove on his hand, the lawyer said it may have been the glove that he used to kill them. But in time that the glove has sweated, it has streaking. But in time, OJ hands done swirled and got big. And he said, we're going to allow him to put on the glove. That's where the prosecution made the mistake. That they tried to put OJ on the glove and the glove didn't fit. At all. It wouldn't fit at all. And the jury said, well, that can't be him then, because whoever had them gloves on would have known that that glove would have fit, and they was the one that done it. And the jury said, we got to let this man go because the gloves didn't fit. But what else they didn't really understand is that, yeah, the gloves could have fit if they'd have looked at the matter a little deeper. And they'd have understood that the gloves could have shrunk. The gloves, a lot could have happened in the process. His hand could have swollen. They could have argued that point. But they were too busy looking at the fact that the glove didn't fit, that even the prosecutor got caught up in, oh my God, the glove don't fit. What are we going to do? They got panicky and they lost the battle. But what I'm here to tell you is, when you stand before God, guilty of what you've been accused of, Jesus said, look at here, don't use the glove that would fit, God, but use the glove of mine that won't fit, because I can't have no sin in me. I don't have the ability to sin. I've done everything you asked, and you gave this to me. You know, the unique thing about it is when I gave my kids the dog now was theirs. Even though I could justify getting rid of the dog, which I did, and I made a mistake, and I repent of that daily on a regular when I see them about that. You know, I repent that I got rid of Benny. I even hate that I got rid of Benny, you know, because it was a good dog. He defended them. He defended me. He fought a goat, you know, on my behalf. And the goat made him go, you know, holler. And he ran back to me. And I said, oh, that goat hurt you. That goat butted him. And he looked, and I said, that goat wouldn't leave, and it was sitting in front of my door. And I said, Benny, I said, you all right? Benny looked at me as if he said, okay. And I said, go get him. And Benny took out again, even though he had been hurt, to defend me in front of that goat and chase that goat away. And then came to me, barely limping, and looked at me. And I said to Benny, I said, man, you're a bad boy. As little as you is, you fought a goat for me. I said, come on in the house. You get a ham bone for this one. What I'm trying to tell you is, Jesus says, this mine. I'm going to go to battle, even though the evidence is bigger and look to be bigger. But I'm bad enough to take it on. Yes. And that's why I said, Jesus, he did that thing. Regardless of what I went through or what I was justified to go through, he did that thing for me. Yes. Because God said, I'm going to do it for you. And I'm going to allow them to have this opportunity to live for me. And I'm going to protect them, and I'm going to justify the reason that I'm going to hold them here. And I'm closed. And I was looking at this, and I said, Lord, I thank you for being my situation of taking me through my process. Because in my process, y'all, I could have failed. Mm-hmm. I could have lost. Mm-hmm. I should be dead now. But God said, no, you got a reason to live, because I gave you the right to live. Yes. And if he giving you the right to live, you got to live it out, church. That's right. You got to do what he say do. You can't let the enemy mistreat you and take you through the mud, and you ain't got a right to have to go through the mud. Benny, he looked good all the time. And when he got his hair cut, he didn't want nobody, you know, to mess it up. He'll come and let you pet him, but you got to pet him the right way. You know, you can't go against the grain, because he said, my master went through too much to get me here. You don't know what I've been through to get to this point. Come on. You got to value your salvation to God. That, you know, if God said don't drink the drink, don't drink the drink. If God said don't smoke the cigarette, don't smoke the cigarette. If God said don't go on the date, don't go on the date. If God said, don't say the lie, don't tell the lie. See, if God is beckoning you to do better, do better. Lesson is